We got the plans cause we are the Tech Shamans. We understand cause we are the Tech Shamans. Dude, I got this cool thing to show you. Really, man? Yeah, it's far out and technical and stuff. Awesome. Yeah. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Cool.
We're live. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Tech Shamans.
Well,
again.
hello everybody.
Hey.
I'm the hidden voice behind the curtain.
That's right. That's right.
Well, you got your camera back there, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I'll put
exactly.
up. Here we go.
We'll put it up
there
in the
I
blocks.
am.
There we
What's
go.
up?
Excellent. Here we go. That's good. Well, John, you can tell them what we're talking about today.
Okay,
it's going to be a super topic. It's
Exactly.
going to be a single topic show.
Yeah, normally we want to have a few different topics, but I think we have enough content on this one to go a whole show on it. So on the news, I think it was Channel 8, they put up the whole, this one lady has hired this firm out, and I think they're out of Miami, I think is what it is, and she has at this point sued 175 businesses because their website is not ADA compliant.
Wow.
And a lot of people are saying, and I mean, dude, my inbox last night was flooded. I'm like, oh, somebody's going to be $1 for their sound being on. I like that. But I mean, my inbox, and they're like, John, are we ADA compliant? I said, I didn't build it to be ADA, and my people didn't build it because that wasn't what we needed to do
at that time
4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
And they're like, well, what's it going to cost? I said, well, you're probably looking at about $6,000-7,000 to ADA it.
Yeah.
And they're like,
what do you mean, John? Does ADA mean I need a ramp on my website?
Yeah, or do I need to put a braille bar?
Right, exactly. No.
But there are, I mean, the problem I see here, and I'm just going to throw it out there, is I don't see pure regulation on this. There's no definitive this has to be done. And I think we're going to go into the whole reader thing here shortly. But I'm going to let the two web guys, and that's, let me see if I can do this right, there and there, right? You know, these are our web and systems analysis people, but this man over here builds the computers to make sure they work right, and readers and stuff. So I'm going to let you guys jump in and let's see where this goes, because I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a major problem.
This is going to be this will be a thing in the media too, because the media has already picked this up. So it's going to be whatever the kind of the fanboy of the next couple of months will be like. Everybody will be focusing on this, and there'll be more lawsuits and things like that.
Yeah, this is the next ambulance chasers. Cup of tea, you know what I mean? They're going to be all over this.
Yeah.
It's sad because, the small mom and pop is getting beat up over this right now. There's something like, I want to say it was 2,768 cases already filed against small business owners that, because of the compliance issue. The problem that we run into is there's no federal agency, there's no local governing agency that says that these are the set of rules that you have to follow and go by.
There's guidelines.
This. There's guidelines.
But
WC3.org, who kind of oversees what we consider the web.
Yeah, I mean, they were the ones who kind of standardized the way that text was displayed and the way that HTML, like the markup in the back end, was kind of done, so you had to do it the same way. But it's all kind of a suggestion.
It's all suggestive.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says these are the 12 things that you need to do, even though, like, WC3 with, and correct me, it's WCAG 2.0 is the latest version of what they consider for compliance. These are the, how did they put it? This is the best practices.
Yeah,
it's not even a regulation or a certification that's out there for that.
Yeah, if you see some web designer going, we're W3 certified, they are lying to you, and you should run away. So
run away fast.
There's no certificate that you can get that says oh, this is the right, we do it the right way. This is just a method. And
so there's no little, like on some websites you have the thing where it's on the bottom and
there's
this
like
is
a padlock
this is a safe or padlocked or this is a secure site.
Like that.
This is to the equivalent of, I have a friend who is a PhD and they're school teacher. They teach college and they teach English. And every year the English people get together and they argue in big groups about whether there's apostrophes on things or whether you need commas after stuff. It's the same thing with web design elements. There's constantly, they'll come out with they came out with their 2.0, and there's still forums that are arguing about whether or not this is the right tag or period to put at the end of some code line. Exactly. There's a lot of people like that, and so it's kind of the same way with the ADA, was there's an overall overreaching. We're kind of the mindset that, the original ADA compliance issues was if I can't see or I can't read or I have other disabilities that infringe on my ability to look at a website, like I can't move the mouse smoothly or I can't see or hear, it's a great structure to build to be able to have those people see or hear your website or be able to use your website. It's great, if they can have a reader that reads your website.
Yeah.
But what it's caused is a situation where, a good idea has gone to like the world of the ambulance chasers, like you said. And let me be clear. 80% of my websites that I build for clients are for attorneys and law firms. So I'm real familiar with this. They're super.
And how many of those are ADA compliant at the end of the day? 100% are what we call a AAA rating.
Right, zero.
They're not
because
you can't read that.
Well, also because I have lawyers for clients. And
Right.
okay,
whatever. So let me ask this question because I'm not the web guy, and that's why I rely on people like Erik and people like Rusty, and I'm not a computer guy. I'm a geek, but when it comes into heavy duty computer stuff, that's why we have Adam on the show.
Yeah.
So years back, Master Google of the web universe told us no more big crappy sites.
Right.
Everything's got to be streamlined, it's got to be mobile friendly, and blah, 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 blah. Right? So now, since we've done that, and since if you're a mom and pop, so everybody jumped over to WordPress because WordPress is the thing. I guess there was Joomla for a while. And blah,
there's
blah,
all kinds
right?
of the flavor of the day.
You get someone that doesn't have the budget to have a $15,000 website, right? They've done it themselves. It kind of looks okay because there's cool little templates out there. And they're mom and pop. They're trying to struggle. They would rather put their money into employees and buying stuff to sell on their store or their services. Well, now Miss I'm going to sue everybody comes in and sues you because you're not ADA compliant, but yet you employ 3 or 4 dysfunctional, disabled people, and you have to let them go to go fix your website. Okay, now there's a big problem.
Who's that help?
Yeah. Well, right. That doesn't help anybody.
And also this is kind of the targeting of, I feel that the ADA situation is important, but right now these lawsuits, like these 2,000 lawsuits, they're, Rusty is the master at the systems, and the systems are in place for keeping you out of lawsuits. So if you have insurance, which most businesses do, and you get sued for having a bad website, Rusty was just saying, they're advising to go ahead and pay it out. Just let it go.
Okay,
you're not going to win.
So here you go, Bunny Trail.
Yeah.
So I'm a new business.
Yep.
I put up a really nice website that I've probably paid $3,000 or $4,000 for, which is not a lot of money, but it's a good start. You got someone doing it. It's not ADA. It's not ADA compliant because you didn't really know that at that time, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go buy insurance now. Okay, so now are the insurance companies going to jack up your rates because, oh, by the way, everybody's getting sued and we know we are probably going to pay out?
They may start
are they going to check your site before they'll insure you?
They're not doing that yet, but we'll maybe even take a step back. So what is ADA compliance on your website? That's
what I want to know.
So here, I'm going to read you accessibility. This is from another website that goes over the 2.0. But so these are the
WCAG.
things that, these are the things that your website should be able to do or not do, which is all images on the website should have an alternative text that can be read by screen reader software. It's called alt text. And also, by the way, this is something that Google uses to rank you, so they make sure that the that you're putting web images that are proper on there. So that's a ranking factor. So that's a good thing. Audio only or video content includes text transcripts or descriptions, which is important for both ranking and for people who can't hear. One of the things on the text transcripts is you don't need that kind of black bar on the bottom, like the closed captioning type of thing. There are things that you can do for a website that allow screen readers and you to see that content. If you are hearing impaired, for instance, you usually have an overlay program that will read it and be okay with it. So that's you want text transcripts.
And let's be 100% clear on that too. With what we consider a screen reader isn't just taking what you see that we see as a visual piece.
Right.
It's actually reading content from the HTML markup, the JS, and everything like that in the background.
Yeah, you've got specific markup on, Google's systems are pretty smart. They basically, when they hit your website, they hit it with 8 pairs of eyes that look at different things on your website. And they can do it at the same time pretty quickly. And one of those things is they look for this, what they call schema markup, which is the ability to show that transcript while the video's playing and you have timing and things like that. But so those screen readers. Now, what we were talking about a little bit before is these screen readers, we'll get into this later, but screen readers are not all the same and they're not all accurate. Adam brought that a great point up. So I'll finish this up, but appropriate links to media players are provided if they're required to view content. Like there's if you have a flash reader or something else, you have to click on that and you can download that, so it's available. Headings on the page are placed in logical order, which means that on the back end, or at least visually, you have the big headline, and then you have maybe content, and then you have sub headlines. And Google and the kind of the accessibility want it to be very specific. There's these tags. They're H1, H2, H3, down to 6. And so those all have to be in order. And what happens is a lot of web designers, because of the way they like to use, to make things big and small, they use these things intermittently instead of using it like a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
And so that could be a problem.
Well, Google's never hit you for having them out of order.
No, Google doesn't
either.
care. Yeah.
Google doesn't care. The only time that I've ever seen that, and I was, one of the gurus of the ADA compliancy for Tampa Bay area, we were talking about last night. That was the first time he ever brought that up to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Are you serious?" And he goes, yes. He goes, if it's out of order, it'll screw up a page reader quicker than anything.
Yeah, because what it does is it kind of categorizes and it just helps the page readers understand what they're going to be talking about. So yeah,
what's the priority?
Yeah, what the priority is. The content presented does not rely solely on color, and so if you've got, and this kind of this particular requirements isn't, but I will say that the color, if you have orange and red together, if you have orange text on red, I've got some clients who are like, I don't care, that's what I want. Okay, great. But as a screen reader, it becomes a problem unless you do it a little bit different ways.
But is that every screen reader, or is that just, again, that goes back to the,
again,
not all,
it depends. They're not all the same. And the other part of it is this is a big thing for me, which is kind of the SEO standpoint, which is don't, it's not 1999 anymore, but I still see websites with pictures that use for text. They're headers. They use like, Tampa Bay, and it's a picture. And I'm like, you can't do that anymore. It's not, it's not the 2000s.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
And so, and now you'll get super dinged on that for accessibility. The site can be navigated using the keyboard. That's important because I want to be able to scroll down. I want to be able to move around and maybe type in a search and things like that. So the site can be navigated using a keyboard. Most sites nowadays, when they're built, are. The focus of the keyboard is never stuck on one particular page element. In terms of moving up or moving down, you can kind of move around with that. No rapidly flashing colors on the site, and there are no strobe lights. I have to say that I'm all in for this. If you have flashing,
I gotta take that other site down now.
Flashing colors and strobe lights on your website, you should be arrested immediately. Just for the not for ADA compliance. The fashion police should come and get you and beat you with the stick. Because you have flashing colors.
So
if you have a flashing banner on your website, you should be killed immediately.
Yeah, I could see that happening with the epilepsy.
Yeah, exactly.
Flashing red.
Yeah, exactly.
What are the two colors? It's red and it's flashing red and green, I think.
Yeah, red and green.
Yes, if it flashes more than 3 times per 5 seconds, it can cause an epilepsy attack.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Now you're getting sued by 2 sets of people.
Yes.
The keyboard uses skip navigation, quickly access content. Each page's language is portrayed in code. There are some websites that are English, Spanish, German, French, whatever it is. I built a couple of those that they're multiple languages. And you want to be able to have that person's if you offer a multi-language site, you have to actually have that to be able to screen read in that different language. And there's some things on there in when it says portrayed in code, which means that it's on the back end type of thing. And there are some things that you have to do. That's why some of these ADA compliant sites and like multi-language sites are super expensive, because that's all. Most of that is almost hand done. There's not some big button you can push that says make this French, because you have to have good French versus Google French. And so,
right. So I got a question online real quick.
Yeah.
You guys. And it's coming from Thomas May. It says, we received a quote from a company to make our community CDD website ADA compliant, and the cost was well above $6,000.
Yeah.
Is this estimate in line with what we can reasonably expect?
It's probably cheap.
That's cheap, because
that's cheap.
The Google, I actually just Googled this up. The average for a small business website is $27,000 to $50,000 to become compliant.
Yeah.
That's level 2 AA compliant. That's not AAA compliant. That's level A and level AA.
And so let's make sure that so I have another question. Do these rules apply to someone who makes a site through Wix or WordPress?
Yes. It does not matter who or what and where. The problem is, and Eric, you will hit on this one, because you and I feel strongly about Wix and stuff like that, about not having it. The problem with Wix is you will never have control over the back end, so you will never be able to take your code and make it compliant.
Right.
You are doomed from day one. That's why I hate those sites. For one, they're so hard to do anything for SEO and marketing wise. But then when you bring in a whole other element now of ADA compliance, which I look for over the next 2 years to really get ramped up.
To answer that question,
those sites are going to get hurt.
Yeah, the person who got a quote for $6,000 or $7,000, I want to say it depends. It depends on your level of need for the ADA compliance elements. If you are a doctor, or if you are doing something that is getting a grant from the government, I have a couple of people who they have a site that they display WASP data to counteract insect stuff, and it's very boring, but they have to have it very compliant because it's a government website. And that's one of the coverage. So that $6,000 or $7,000, it may be. Now, so this is like the screen reader software is available. Those are the kind of things. What typically happens is so I have a mom and pop website. I got my I'm paid $3,000 for my site. It's not to level 2, but if you got sued, you could go into a courtroom in any place and go, Your Honor, throw this dumb case out because I have these 16 things for ADA compliance. I have all my images on the site. I have video content that's ran. Look at my schema markup. I have all these things done. All the headings are in logical order. It's one of those type of things where you set out an argument, and it may be cheaper to get a $3,000 site and set aside $1,000 to have a lawyer go to court or write a brief back as an answer telling these guys to.
But the unfortunate thing is, there hasn't been one case overturned or that has been thrown out by a judge, that it's been decided on for the small business owner.
That's why your insurance pays out, because the problem is that the judges, they don't really have anything to go on. There's no case law right now. So judges and attorneys work on what they call case law, which is previous stuff that's happened to prove that this is yes or no. And right now, because some of these judges have allowed some things, the case law goes no. And so for that $6,000 or $7,000 website, the biggest thing that you want, like you've got your friend who charges a couple grand an hour
just to consult.
just to consult. One of the things is if you spent $6,000 or $7,000, you need a contract that is for that website that says, hey, we as a web builder people for that $6,000 or $7,000 will take on that liability for you, if you want. Now for $6,000 or $7,000, I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that. They're going to say no.
And Thomas, I know Thomas May actually. For you and the business that you're in, because unfortunately you're in that prime spot of the businesses that they're looking at, because financially they think, when they see the name of your business, I'm not going to say the name of his business to be respectful.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, and he runs an awesome outfit, and they do a lot for the community. The problem is, because of that spotlight, his business is very vulnerable for this, because they automatically say, they got money.
Oh, they got some cash.
They'll just pay us out. And it's the scum, I hate to say this way, but it's the scumbag ambulance chaser lawyers that are going to go after them to get a quick buck, because they don't care and they have no morals, they have no dignity, and they're scums to me. I just can't stand it.
The pixel chasers.
Exactly.
They need some small blogs.
But let's get to the root of the problem, which is you're holding a small business owner and us developers to a standard in which nobody's going and suing the page readers. Nobody's going after them, and there's no level of certification. There's nothing that says these are the mandates that we have to go by for page readers, and they're all different. And they all work differently. None of them do a good job, in my opinion, and they all lack on one feature or the other.
Exactly.
So you have no compliance across the board that they have to be standardized to.
Oh yeah.
But yet you're going to hold us to because XYZ. Adam has XYZ page reader over here, and Erik has ABC page reader over here, and neither one of them do a good job at everything, and they fail. And because Miss Susie May over here can't see my site because of his toy or his software, I shouldn't call it toy. I call it toy because I have a meaning for that. Because of that, it's now my fault. That's not cool. That's not fair.
Right.
That really sucks at the end of the day.
So I'm putting up some of the questions, and then Thomas also stated back that this quote was actually for a CDD, which is actually considered an extension of Pasco County government in a special district.
Yeah, I could see that as a
that's your neighborhood, by the way.
If that's the case, like I was saying, if it's tied to funding or something else, yes, that's not a bad quote for, I don't know who gave it to you or whatever, but that's around the neighborhood of what you would expect to pay if you needed something specific like that, because you do need it to be that level of government's compliance. And so if like I have a couple of my education clients who have schools and things like this, and because they are chartered federally, they need that kind of stuff. And so it's something that as a business expense you got to put in.
What are you charging right now to go in and do ADA work? Because I know you do it.
A lot of times I'll charge per hour. That kind of quote like that is not a bad quote. So it's in the neighborhood of a mid 4 figures to go in. It depends on your site. I've got one of my sites right now that I'm working on for compliance is a wedding site, and they sell online, so it's e-commerce, and so that's even more expensive. But in that neighborhood of, you're going to be looking at a mid 4 figure to either redo your site, to compliance issues and things like that, or to get one of those additional elements on there, like for a government website.
So what would you guys really think would be best for say small businesses? Would it be best to possibly start over and redo this to build off?
Sometimes I think if I didn't, and I have a rule, if I didn't build it to begin with, 90% of the time, I'm going to push you into rebuild, because I don't know what they did. When you're reading code, there's a lot of things that happens that we go in and we change a line that it's, because code is like magic at the end of the day. It's like, oh, wow, look, this made this happen.
And it's dark
pretty
magic
cool.
because it's unpredictable.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
well,
in order for me to...
Rusty and I ran into that a couple years ago. We were working on a big site that somebody else developed, and we were...
That was nasty code.
We completely redid the site, but by the time we had to use their database tables, it was so jacked up.
Yeah.
They never went live with the site we built them. They kept the piece of crap they had.
Because the guy was holding them hostage, and he would not bring it up to date, and he had it so proprietary in the way that he wrote the code. It would have cost me and John, just hours alone, would have been over $100,000 in time for us to have our programmers and us do the things that we needed to do at that time. Would have been over $100,000.
Yeah,
and I got told last night, because I asked, I said, FREC is the body governs realtors in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And they're coming down on realtors really hard on this. So anybody that falls under FREC's compliance, they just got sent out an email saying, "Hey, you come compliant, or else we're going to fine you against your license."
I'm building a site right now for two.
What I was told is, you want to get around it as a realtor, get rid of your website, go to Facebook, do everything on Facebook, then you're not liable, because it's Facebook's liability then.
Yeah,
I mean, it's sad that we have to come to that to make this happen.
You're going to hurt your business.
And here's the thing with a realtor, with the realtors' websites, they'll never be ADA compliant. They'll never meet even a class a AA, because the IDX does not allow for the markup that you need to be compliant. So
but what he's talking about is that is like I was saying, those things that you do to protect yourself, you can do, but the IDX basically is a way that you have those home listings you see on Zillow and stuff that goes into your website that shows all the cool houses. And if you use that service, which you have to display your houses, unless you want to do it manually and want to kill yourself.
Yes.
It's not
compliant.
that we
condone that.
No.
It's the way that we exchange data on the real estate sites.
But that's the thing. A lot of times, if you want to bring your site into compliance, there's two levels. There's one that is kind of your ability to defend yourself from your insurance company and in court. And then the second is, or at least get insurance. And the second is to make it completely ADA compliant so that you can get federal funding for whatever you want. And that's the expensive level. And I like to base it on what you need and what you're going to do. The problem is that I would tell everybody that, because I work with a lot of lawyers, it's anyone can sue you for anything. I could sue, you for invading my personal space.
Right.
The judge may hit me when I go to court. He may, like shoot me on the spot. But I can certainly sue you, and it can cost you money. That's the problem. And in certain instances, like your friend, like Tom, if you are in a business that is open to that, what happens is your insurance company goes, "No, dude, you are not going to fight this." Like John was saying, I would fight this tooth and nail, and you certainly could. However, it may cost you some money. It could cost you $10,000, $20,000 to fight something like that. And then your insurance company is going to go, if we're going to settle, they say, we want to settle. We'll give them $6,000 and you've got a strike against you for a lawsuit. And you go, I don't want to do that. I want to sue them, or I want to sue them back. The problem is most of the lawyers that I've talked to have said the insurance company will turn around and go, okay, you fight them tooth and nail, but if you lose, we're not going to give you any money. And that's why most people are, when they say, I want to, it's like the slip and fall stuff. I slipped and fell, I'm hurt. And they'll try and fight it a little bit, but at the end of the day, they just go, how much will it take for you to go away? Like these websites.
The average is 50. The average is 50 to 60,000. Winn-Dixie is the one that says president so far at $6 million.
Yeah, wow. And Target got sued for 10.
Yes.
And so it's the same thing. They got Christmas shopping.
There's like a few things like that. Like for instance, with the real estate agents. They're utilizing a database that's not theirs to display.
We don't own. We own the data, but we don't own the database.
Right. And that's where your liability stuff. And by the way, we do not give legal advice here. We are tech idiots, and we just talk about tech stuff.
That's what we do.
If you get sued, don't come crying to me. But you're right.
And on top of that too, where does that leave you for legal ramifications when you're building a site and say, okay, I offer ADA, do you take it or not? You're gonna you might have to have somebody sign off.
You will never find a contract that says that we're building to ADA compliance, because there's not. I mean, there's one company out there that advertises it, but when you read that that 80 pages of fine print, I signed away my firstborn and everything else. There's one line in there that says we're not
guideline. There's no rule book. There's no guideline. You have mismatched software.
If you type in right now, it's kind of being used as a scare tactic a little bit, in my opinion, on websites, because you can type in ADA websites. There's a lot of people that go, whoa, we will give you an ADA website, and it's super important. However, when you, like Rusty said, when you look at their back end of, here's their thing, they still say, and we're not liable. They don't, they'll tell you they're going to build one, but they're not liable when you get sued for it. And so that's kind of the problem with that kind of stuff.
Like our contract with my lawyer, because we have a lawyer who sits on the board of the corporation. You know how it went from this little thing that I wrote this big to like 8 pages to say that we're not liable for any of this stuff.
There's a lot of we have a video contract.
And it's sad that we had to have that.
But it is.
It is.
And the problem, like I said, I go back to this originally was created to help people, and like a lot of regulations and things, the problem is I've often said that these things get weaponized, and what happens is that you can use these as blunt force instruments for suing either a competitor or someone else who you want, or someone gave you bad service. You can sue them for not being compliant, and there are plenty of attorneys who will take this. Most of my clients are like, I'm not going to take this. This is stupid. But like Rusty said, there are a lot of people out there that are kind of, there were, back in the day, there were a lot of these kind of ambulance chaser website people who, if your blog used a picture from somebody else, they were going after you, and you were going to get sued, and you were going to go to jail, and they want $6,000, and you could settle for them for like $600. And that was a racket. And Getty Images made $410 million the first year that they did that on that type of thing. And so it was a revenue stream, and it was horrible, and the judges have gotten weary of that. And it's the same with ADA compliance, in my opinion, right now, is that this is the next round of media. The media is going to pick this up.
I think that they need to put a precedent in place now that you get a notification first.
Yes.
A warning second, and then they can sue you.
I completely agree. I think this is I
don't think anybody should just come off the street and go, I'm suing you.
I think giving them the opportunity, if a small business owner can't comply at the time, at least allow them to be able to shut the website
there should
down.
be I completely agree, John.
Okay, so this is statements coming from John, not the other tech shamans, and I know they're going to cringe. So the very entity that fights discrimination is discriminating against the small mom and pop shops that they know for a fact can't do this.
That's the ones that are hiring the disabled to go and giving them a job. So the
ADA either needs to say, we're out of this, or this should be the precedent. If you're going to sue with using the words AD or the letters ADA, it has to be done this way. There's got to be a warning, a notification, a warning, and then you can go after them. If someone says, screw you, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because if you have a small mom and pop shop that's barely getting by, but they've got employees, I would rather them pay their employees than worry about their site being ADA.
Or at least, if they're going to use their name, they need to go out there and either draw up the conditions in which a website should be and how it needs to be
very specific.
As for software also, and they need to invest their money into the technologies and come up with a game plan so that way the rest of the world can follow.
Right.
And
this goes back to that bigger fight that we've all been leery of having, and we just went through, we saw, with Facebook, and all the CEOs of all the social media sites and everything having to come into for these hearings, right?
Oh yeah.
The web is supposed to be neutral. In other words, nobody controls or owns the web.
Right. It's net neutrality.
But at the same time, you're holding hostage businesses by rules for the web that are not rules.
Exactly.
So ADA compliance for us, it's a double-edged sword. You need a governing body to help defend against things like this and put practices into place that says, okay, you know what, you're not ADA compliant today, but you got 90 days to become compliant.
And 90 days is not even a reasonable thing.
No,
because
it's
you can't turn a site that fast.
No, but I mean, I'm just giving.
It's a good start.
A theory. And then we're going to fine you X per day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
allow somebody to. But what it is you have, and I hate to say it like this, but this idiot that sits there that has no job, doesn't want to better themselves, woe is me, and I'm going to make the rest of the world as pitiful as I am.
They're going to suffer like I feel like I'm
suffering.
They may not be suffering, but they sure feel like they are.
But because I'm just going to make a quick buck, and I'm going to put the screws to you. I don't care what it does and what the domino effect from it is. I'm just going to screw you because I can.
Right.
And that's what this is at the end of the day. This is a public screwing that you can get away with.
This is
and
extortion.
Yes, it is. It's extortion at its best.
And on the other side of the coin, we're not. I think none of us are like, ADA sucks.
No, we need it.
We need it.
This is one of those types of things. One of the things that ADA compliance has helped with is actually SEO elements and visibility, because Google, when it does its Google thing, all these things that you're doing to make it ADA compliant help your rankings. One of the biggest things on the videos is that a lot of percentage of people that are watching like Facebook videos and even YouTube are kind of watching those things at work when you're not supposed to, or at least in an environment that you don't want to be hearing a large video. So you want videos to play because they may be interesting, but by putting those closed captions on the videos directly, you're really helping yourself get more views and more viewership. I mean, you're getting more customers, and especially if you have a deaf customer or a blind customer, you want them to be a customer. It's not like I don't care about people who have challenges to accessing my site, but you want a consistent approach to, and you want there to be some mechanisms so that you can't, like I said, you can sue anyone for anything, but the likelihood of a judge taking something.
But are we suing the wrong people? At the end of the day, you're suing the wrong people. The one that you should be suing is the page readers. And I hate to say it because, it's the browsers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you want ADA compliance, it should be at the end of where the user's using it. And that's at the browser level, that's at the reader level, right?
Yeah, right.
Those things need to be compliant. And then once you've got a standardized a method for them, the rest of the web is going to going to modernize itself to that level because we want to always achieve that level. It's not that the business owner or the developers don't want to go there. It's just we don't have anything to go to because no one's told us we got to go to this. The only thing we have is suggested rules.
Right. You give me the rules and I'll play by the rules. But until you give me the rules, you can't slap my hand for not playing by the rules.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, it's simple as that.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have the screen readers going to have to start coming up with like OCR software. Automatically take snapshots.
Exactly.
Which would kind of be a little easier right now at this point. I mean, if you don't know how to write out a paragraph, I mean, it's going to read what it says.
Well,
I'm waiting to see how many lawsuits we get against page readers after this show.
Oh yeah. Well, look at websites like the plugins like Grammarly and things. Those things actually look at your stuff as you type, and they go.
The content that's there, not on the background.
Right.
I mean, it's
and
there.
So those are the type of things that are useful. But like for ADA compliance and like what you need to do as a small business, there are the multiple things you can do. But for true ADA compliance, you're talking a lot of money, and I go back to on the websites things is I go back to a sense of fairness because. I feel that a business is going to have some a business shouldn't have to have $50,000 for a website unless you're an e-commerce site. You shouldn't have if you're selling if you're selling air conditioners or you're a lawyer, you shouldn't have to spend $20,000 on a website just to make it.
All right, so here hold on, I got a question for you because I've got a guy that put on there. He goes. Because we were talking earlier, and he goes, "No, I'm HIPAA compliant." Just because you're HIPAA compliant doesn't mean you're ADA compliant.
No, not at all. They're two totally
different worlds. So so it's all like this is an insurance person. So if they're selling, their websites about their insurance and they're HIPAA compliant, they still have to be ADA.
HIPAA is the way that you store data.
Yeah,
it's the privacy of data.
It's the front
ADA
of the store
is
and the back
the
of the
accessibility of data.
Yeah.
There's two whole different things there. So
it's if you had a store, the ADA compliance would be your front of your house store where people walk around and choose
the aisles, how wide they are, the bathrooms, everything like that, the handbars.
HIPAA compliance is the file drawers in the back that are storing that data and your computers in the back room that are
private stuff you're supposed to.
So there are two different things. And if you're in that space, you definitely want a little bit more ADA compliances because you want, depending on if you're an insurance or a medical office, you definitely want that because if you have people with disabilities, especially if you're treating them, you want them to be able to pay their bills online or whatever they have to do. So you definitely want that to be ADA compliant. So that's that's a good point though, because a lot of people feel that they're in compliance with the law. Like for instance, responsive sites. If I can see my stuff on my iPad and my phone, then I'm like good, right? Not necessarily. No. And especially with the rise of mobile and Google's push on mobile first,
right?
The websites over probably 3 or 4 years old are really going to struggle with ADA compliance on mobile because
so what kind of reader reads mobile?
Oh, there's a lot of readers that will do that. You can plug in and you can get the readers and things like this. There's even a plug-in for a Braille thing. I don't know how it works, but I've seen it. There's actually Braille readers that plug into websites.
Yeah, it's like a strip on, and what it does is the bumps come up as they pop up. You read the line, you read across the line, and then it'll bring up the next line, and then you read across it. Yeah, it's kind of neat.
But like for ADA compliance for videos, we do a lot of video stuff and with the marketing, and you can actually plug in a.
What's really bad about this though is because like guys like me that put the when we're writing code, right, we put our notes in, and sometimes I'll put some stuff in there that if somebody hacks your stuff, you want to give them at least a little bit of humor because I mean they were good enough to get in there. You want them to be like, oh shit, he did that. And I mean now all of that's visible whenever you go to these pages.
One of my friends has a blog, and if you go to the back end of their blog and like look at the code, the code is set up on, at least their homepage is set up that looks like a pterodactyl. And so, but for ADA compliance, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do, but I think it's going to be, we wanted to bring it up because there's going to be a lot more talk about media, and my fear is that it's fear. There's going to be a lot of fear mongering by, I'm here or there about media, but media, especially local media, will pick this up and they will run with it.
Well, and Channel 8's already done that.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Well, I heard about this 2 years ago. This is nothing new.
No, but it's a news cycle. This is going to go big.
Sue Happy people are new.
Yeah, 2008 is about the first time you heard. That's when Dixie got sued.
Yeah.
Now let's throw another wrench into this because we all use them. Plugins.
Yeah.
Plugins. How do I control their what they have in their compliances?
Yeah.
It's on my website. I'm liable for it.
We do what he's talking about is if I build if you have a website and I build a website for you and you go, "Oh, Eric, this form, I want to have a form that I can fill out, that my customers can fill out for my air conditioning, and that tells them thing, and I want this to send me this and whatever, and I want to get it on my phone." So it's a plugin. Instead of me charging you a whole bunch of money to write new code on your website, we go and get a free or really inexpensive plugin that I can go, hey, I'm going to drag and drop this, and here's what it does, and this kind of interacts with your website. And instead of me charging you $9,000, I can charge you a couple. And so it's one of those type of things where all these plugins, and some of these websites, I've got a number of sites who I've got 12, 15 plugins on these sites. And like Rusty was saying, each one of those could open you up to an ADA compliance issue based on whatever they do. And so it's going to be a thing. I think what Rusty was saying is like, if I got a small business, you want to be aware and you want to do what you can, in my opinion, to help with accessibility, but you can't not have a website and just go to Facebook or something like this, because what's going to happen is just like is done before, Facebook and LinkedIn, they have their own deal, and if they want to change their game, then you don't have a website anymore.
Yeah. So here's going to be your next millionaire or billionaire.
Okay, I'm going to write this down.
The person that can come up with a plugin that will go to your site
ADA
and
plugin.
ADA it all by its lonesome. There's your next billionaire.
There is a couple. There's a couple softwares out there. I was looking last night. There's a couple softwares. I've got one that I'm going to play with because they give you a free trial. So I love my free trials.
You can test.
But even they say that it's not a 100% accurate thing because at least they're being honest.
Accurate to what?
That's the thing they're saying. There's no way that you'll ever have a true 100% ADA compliant to where everybody can see it. That will never happen.
Unless you just put up
we have to get that off the table.
Again, give me the rules.
Yeah.
Tell me what it is, and then I can follow the rules.
Exactly.
But until
and
then,
there is
you
none.
can't. I mean, to me, it's just the easiest fight in the world. You go into you're sitting there in front of the judge, and you're being sued. Well, judge, if there's no true rules, if there's no A to Z that has to be done, then why am I here?
Yeah.
Yep. And unfortunately, that has like I was reading to you guys before the thing, the ruling says that is not, that they've already ruled that that's not an issue.
And I get that part, but the thing is that needs to be appealed so it gets out of that local judge's hand and goes to
it needs to go to
local
the grand jury.
Supreme, and then after that Supreme, it'll go to the, and this is how we get things fixed.
Right.
Is because, but you got to have that one person that goes, you know what? I'm willing to push back.
Yeah.
You know, I guarantee if you go crowdfunding on this, you'll get people backing you to fight.
I think what's going to happen eventually is insurance companies are really smart in terms of their ability to pay things out, and they have actuaries and they have whole rooms of people who balance what we're paying out versus being a pain in the butt. And once it gets to that tipping point, you'll have an insurance company, whether it's Hiscox, because if it becomes too much of a thorn in their side with too many of these people, just like what happened with the picture ones, because if you have errors and omissions insurance in your insurance and you're a small company, you'll get paid. They'll pay out and they won't care. But what happened was
Your liability insurance doesn't cover this.
Yeah.
This is your E&O insurance.
Yeah, because so many
businesses
people
don't realize
yeah,
that.
because Hiscox and a couple of these insurance companies started to pay out too much money. They were like, okay, we're going to put a stop. And I think that's what's going to happen with the ADA, was they're going to push back at some point,
Right.
and then you'll get some compliance. However, here's the other Eric's conspiracy and follow the money, is there are larger companies and larger websites, like Amazons of the world, who do not feel that small businesses should be in competition with them.
Right.
And they will be the ones to be able to lobby for rules, or at least complicated rules, of where, like the person was talking about before, is I'm now paying $7,000 for a website versus $2,000 or $3,000 for a website for my business, and now it's cost prohibitive. And now I don't even want to start a small business in,
Yeah, exactly.
in Poughkeepsie, wherever it is. I don't. It's too much of a pain to compete with, whoever that big guy down the street is, and they're going to try and make it, and my fear on all this stuff, like you said, you've been reading about this stuff for years now, and it'll come to a head and it'll die down. But the problem is once some of the government regulations get involved, it becomes cumbersome, and then they write things just like
Amazon.com is not even compliant. No. I just looked it up. They've already settled. They've already done their settlement.
So you could go out and, here, get on the train, folks, and from me to you, go ahead and sue Amazon, and you see what happens, and then send me some of the revenue. So
yeah, the problem is that, and I think you hit it on the nail. I think the insurance companies, because one, financially, they have the backing to go and lobby for a change in this.
The lobbyists and the attorneys,
I think that I think we all agree that we need someone like WC3 or W3C.org that overlooks the web and kind of is the neutral party for everybody that's involved. I like the fact that they have the WCAG, but I would like to see them take that and actually turn it into, these all are going to be the minimum standards.
Well, yeah,
I would be comfortable with that, because we can all build to that, and it's not hard to build to those standards that they have out there. There's 12 things that they're looking for.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if we're going to be held to those 12 things, let's hold the page readers to being able to do those 12 things.
Yeah, once you do it, then it's. And I agree. I think that's going to be the big thing. Is just like, they're very kind of academic. So when you have sites like that, they have these 12 things. It's very academic. It's like the schools type of thing. It's like, is where should we put the comma? There's going to be a lot of discussion about it, so that there's not.
It neutralizes
it. They've discussed. They're specifically leaving it a little bit open, and specifically leaving it so that it's neutral, so that if you get 11 of those, it's okay. They're just saying, here's where if you're at point A, this is where point B should be, so that you can be more compliant, to be more helpful to more people on the internet, and be accessible to the most amount of people who you want to help. And then stop the, like I said, I think the lawsuits are just opportunistic.
Well, I remember back, I've been in the film industry for a while, so we were making commercials back in the early 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Or mid 90s and stuff like that. Now, when we would use a song that we knew that we were probably going to get our hands on, for, we would use it until we got the cease and desist.
Exactly.
Or the bill.
Right.
But no one ever sued us outright.
Yeah.
They always, we did a commercial a while back, and we used Men in Black.
Okay.
Theme song. And sure enough,
you got a letter.
We got a letter.
Thank you, Warner Brothers.
Using it.
Yeah.
So we did. So we got the run out of it that we got run out of it. But so then that's why they started sending bills now.
Yes.
But no one ever just got sued.
Yeah. The problem is that society's lost that ability to communicate with each other on a level of saying, hey, you know what, that's mine. Fair. I don't really want you using it. And having that conversation. It's now, oh my God, you're hurting me, and now I'm going to make your life hell.
Yeah.
There's no compassion. There's no moral compass. We've lost that as a society, and it's pulling over into stupid things like this, right?
Yep.
ADA compliancy, I believe 100% in. You know, I have handicapped family members. I believe that the aisle should be so wide in a store. I believe the bathrooms need to be compliant.
I want to be able to have my wheelchair be able to go down, you know, my row or be at a table.
But
it's the same thing.
It's like anything else. When does it go too far? And I think that right now we're seeing that taken too far.
Yeah.
Right. And it's sad because now what happens is as more regulations are dumped on, somebody's going to lose in the long run, and it's going to be the people who the ADA compliance is truly there for. Right?
Exactly.
They're the ones that are going to get hurt in the end whenever decisions are made, instead of coming together and saying, okay, you know what, this is an issue. Instead of us suing everybody, let's sit down and let's come up with a compromise that works for everybody.
Exactly.
And let's move technology forward. Let's move the what word am I looking for? The conversation.
Yeah, the conversation.
The conversation forward, so that we can make it make accessibility for everybody better. Right. You know, all you're doing is by putting a small business owner out of business, you're taking jobs out of the marketplace. You're taking jobs from us. So we're not building those websites. So we're not learning new technology. You're not giving us the ability to fund that available technology. That's how these things are found, is whenever you're given a task to build in software. That's how we learn the new things.
Yeah, you fix stuff, man.
It's that, oh no, I didn't mean to write this code and look what it did. Now I have a new technology.
Or how do I, you know, hey, I've got a number of people who can't see my videos.
Boys, we got 1 minute left. So we need to wrap this up.
I think that the you know, there are some things that if you have a website and you are looking to, you know, ADA compliance, I think you need to do some research and then do what you can to make it more ADA compliant. But at this point, you don't need to freak out and buy a new website or take out a loan for $10,000 for.
And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to go back to WeBeam TV. We will, and I'll make sure, or everybody here watches this stream and this page, so we'll all check on it and see if anybody's got questions. And you know what? And if worse comes worse, I'll post everybody's phone numbers. You can just give us all a call.
And then, you know, go to w3c.org and look up WCAG 2.0. Those are probably the best things to guide you for right now.
Got to go. We'll see everybody on Monday.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Shamans, we understand cause we are the Tech Shamans. Dude, I got this cool thing to show you. Really, man? Yeah, it's far out and technical and stuff. Awesome, yeah. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Cool.